Hello everyone, welcome to my class. As remember, in our previous class, we did Z test. But in our today's class, we will learn about the comparison of Z test with T test because it is a very minor comparison. There's a very minor difference, but it is very crucial to understand it. In our today's class, we will only discuss about the comparison of Z test with T test. So our video will be very short. Now let's recall something about z-test and we'll compare it with our t-test. What we remember about a z-test is that there was one sample z-test. How many population we were having? We were only having one population. And we were also much sure about this thing that the population one was already given with population standard deviation. And we were also having some sample size as well. For example, we took the country of Kazakhstan, and we take out our sample as city of Astana. The population standard deviation of this Kazakhstan was already given. Now, in two samples that test, we took one more population, that is India, and we take out its own population standard deviation, and we also take out sample size, and we took sample as Delhi. Now, what is the difference between the Z test and T test here is that Z test, the first difference is actually there's no difference. Things are same. Population 1 and population 2. There are two population in Z test. You compare a two sample Z test with T test. There are two population in Z test. There are two population in a T test. But the second difference is not same. In the population standard deviation is always given in Z test, but the t-test require a sample standard deviation. It means you need the standard deviation of city of Astana and city of Delhi, not the population standard deviation, that is the whole Kazakhstan and whole India. Now talk about sample, which is very crucial, is that number of sample you need to do a Z test are always more than 30 or equal to 30, but in t-test you need less number of samples. You can take less than 30. It is more suitable for sample which are less than 30. It takes small samples, but Z test need large samples. Now, if we see a Z test and T test comparison one more, is that the Z test was having this formula, right? But T test does not have the same formula. In T test, you need, in the under root, you need sample standard deviation, not the population standard deviation. So that is the only minor difference between both the tests. Now, one more difference is that Z test don't need degree of freedom to find critical value, but a T test actually need degree of freedom to find critical value. So what is actually a degree of freedom? Let me tell you, right? That if you take out Z test critical value, you have following confidence levels: 90%, 95%, 98%, 99%. And if you have fear that 5% sample will not represent your population accurately, you will choose a confidence interval that is 95%. At 95%, you have a critical value of Z that will be 1.96. Okay. Now, if our significance level is 5%, the critical value will be 1.96. But doesn't happen the same in t-test. T-test need a table. And in the table, you need degree of freedoms. In the degree of freedom is very crucial part of t-test. What is degree of freedom is that you have to take number of sample of city of Astana plus the number of sample of city of India, and you will minus with 2. Why 2? Because there are only two populations. Now, if we take sample 10 from city of Astana and plus it with the city of Delhi, there are total 15 samples. Minus there are only two populations, so there will be degree of freedom that will be 13. It means if you see the table on 13, if you compare it with your 5%, it's a table actually of 5% confidence level. So if you compare it with the 5% confidence significance level, you will see that the at 13, the 5 at 5% significance level, the critical value will be 1.771. So this is how we can find critical value in Z t test. Now, what is the difference between both the tests we learned here today? Is that Z test need more than 30 sample, T test need less than 30 sample. Z test need population standard deviation in order to solve a test, but a t-test needs sample standard deviation in order to solve it. One more difference between z-test and t-test is that z-test don't need degree of freedom, and but a t-test need degree of freedom in order to find the critical value. So I hope this video was very informative to you in order to compare one more test in front of us, that was the comparison of z-test with the t-test. So thank you so much. I wish to see you in our next informative video. Thank you.